Is this on? Hello? Oh, there we go. It's good for now. All right, so I'm often asked the same question a lot when people ask me about my story, and that is, what is forced abortion? To me, it kind of seems obvious what that is. Basically, if you're wondering the same thing, it's exactly what it says. It's when somebody is being held down or drugged or against their will having an abortion performed on them. And I guess after thinking about it, I can understand why it's confusing for people to understand what I mean when I say forced abortion, because we live in the nation of the free. We're supposed to be able to have the choice to choose, according to the law of the land, what we want to do as long as we're not harming other people. So you hear about forced abortion in other countries, but you don't hear much about it here in the United States of America. The media seems to cover this up a lot. There's actually quite a few news articles out and about forced abortion happening for a very long time. This isn't a new thing that's going on in the abortion industry. It's something that's been happening for quite a while and is still continuing to happen today when you hear about coerced or forced abortion. And also the other thing that covers it up, which is common amongst abortions, is shame and guilt, which may seem a little confusing if you are forced, and so I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But I'm here tonight to tell you about my story of forced abortion so I can help you understand a little bit about how that happens here in America. I want to give you a little bit of background first about myself so you can kind of understand the situation that I was in when this happened to me. I am the oldest of 10 children. I unfortunately come from an abusive background in my family. One of my I don't know why I said that. One of my earliest memories that has stuck to me that really shaped my life were the words that my dad would tell to men as we pull up to different places around town, and he would say that I was for sale. So from a very young age, I was taught that and groomed that I wasn't that important, my life didn't matter that much, and it set the stage for the rest of my life of being used to being abused, taken advantage of, and not having any self-esteem for myself. So as I was growing up, I experienced lots of different awful things happened to me, rape, molestation, and it came to the point where I felt so hopeless about myself that I drank continuously. I was very promiscuous as a teenager, and I went down a really bad route in my life during that time. But there's something inside of me, despite all of that I went through, that kept me going. I had some kind of little spark, little flame that would show up at a moment's notice in the pit of despair, suicidal tendencies or ideations that I'd be experiencing, and I would keep on going. And that little spark would tell me that there's something better for you. You just need to hang on. One of my tickets to freedom that I felt would give me my freedom to get away from this abuse was a high school education. Although I didn't get it the conventional way, I pretty much cheated my way to get that piece of paper, but I needed that piece of paper to go on. I was so emotionally torn that I really couldn't even think about learning or try to learn in school. So I got that piece of paper, and then my next step was turning of age, 18, so that I can move away from my abuser. During this time, before I was 18 years old, I grew up in girls' homes, foster homes, I lived on the streets. I was pretty much passed around everywhere. So when I turned 18 years old, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna have more control over my life, I can do what I want, and I can pursue whatever that greater thing is that I wanted in my life. So the day of my 18th birthday, I went out on my own, and not having anywhere to go, no family support, I moved in with a guy that I'd met a few months earlier who was a few years older than me. And we were mostly him, but I participated in a lot of drug use and still drinking, and I knew that this wasn't what I was looking for, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't realize that once I escaped the abuse that it would follow me, my bad habits and the things I picked up along the way, my old coping mechanisms. And so after about a month or so of living with him, after about a month or so of living with him, I decided that I probably should get some kind of contraception so that I don't end up pregnant in an environment like this. How I didn't end up pregnant before boggles my mind. So I made an appointment at Planned Parenthood. Went down there on October 2nd, and that is where I found out I was pregnant. I had no idea at the time. I looked back at my journal entry of this time, and I wrote in there that it was the most awful day of my life. And I was so worried that my boyfriend was going to tell me I had to get an abortion. And I wrote in there in my journal, there's no way I'm getting an abortion. If I have to, I will put my baby up for adoption. So a few days later, I mustered up the courage to tell him. And he said something to me that I had no idea he would say. He said, "It's okay, I'll take care of everything." And in my young, naive mind, I thought that meant we were going to be a family. I was excited. I thought, wow, okay, so this means we're going to stop drinking, we're going to stop doing drugs, we're going to become a family, we're going to have this little cute boy. I assumed it was a boy for some reason. I imagined him running around the house in these cute little baseball boy type clothes. I thought, here is someone that can come and change my life, and was bringing me hope that I can do something good, and I can raise this child, and I can show him love. I had somebody to love, someone to take care of, and it gave me a lot of hope from where I was. A couple of days later, my boyfriend came up to me and he said, "I've got everything taken care of. I have an appointment for you tomorrow at the abortion clinic." And I was just absolutely devastated. And I looked at him and I said, "There is no way I'm not having an abortion." For the next couple of weeks, I endured a lot of mostly emotional abuse, some sexual abuse, physical abuse, but it was really the emotional abuse that I think hurt me most. He hit every insecurity on me that I had. He would tell me things like, "No one's going to want you anymore. Who's going to want someone, a single pregnant mother? You're going to turn out to be fat and ugly if you get pregnant." I would have never gone out with you, dated you, nothing dated. I don't even think we dated. If I would have known that you were pro-life. I thought I asked you this before we even dated if you were pro-choice. He probably did, and I probably said, yeah, I'm pro-choice, because I was. I believed the lie that's being told all around that many pro-choice people believe. I don't have a say over what other people do with their body. That's a common statement I hear constantly. But for myself, I never wanted to hurt a child. After all of the abuse that I had been through, all the suffering and the struggling that I endured, there is no way that I wanted to put another child through that. I would never hurt a child. And to me, I've seen so many babies born. My mom had these kids at home. Though that was a baby inside of me. And I guess I really didn't think it through when it came to somebody else. But when it came to me, that was a child inside of me, and I was not going to hurt it by killing it. And I was very adamant about that. But over time, I was also very insecure. I really felt like the only thing I had going for me at the time of 18 years old was what I looked like. That's all the attention I ever got from men or guys was because of how I looked. So I finally said to him, after a few weeks of this, over and over and over, I said, okay, I'll go to the abortion clinic. So keep in mind that he's already made one appointment for me, and that appointment was canceled. So he made another appointment for me, the same doctor, and the next day he brought me there. It was odd because it was early in the morning when we went, and we stopped for breakfast. I don't think we'd ever even eaten breakfast before together anywhere. And he continued to drive me to the clinic, and I get there, and there's nobody around. There's no one outside. I remember this red brick 2-story building, and in the center when I walked through the doors, there was like an atrium of plants there growing, and we went up the stairs to the second floor, and there was this steel door and a glass door, and I just remember crouching down up against that steel door on the floor, just so depressed, thinking, how am I going to get out of this? Hoping and praying that, okay, these are doctors I'm going to, nurses, they've been trained. It's like going to your pediatrician when you're a kid. They're going to take care of you. They're going to listen to you. They're here for you. They're going to help you get out of this. They're going to save you from what you don't want to hear, get you away from your boyfriend, and protect you and show you and let you have your choice. And that's what I truly believed. Because I truly believe that because it was a law in the United States of America that you can have a choice, which I thought meant not just a choice for abortion, but a choice to keep your child, a choice to give it up for adoption. I believed all of those were choices, and that the one of those choices I could choose, and I chose life. The door was locked when we got there, and someone came and unlocked us and let us in, and we walk into a waiting room. I'll never forget what this waiting room looked like. There was empty chairs all around the walls, and I'm sitting there as my boyfriend's filling out some kind of paperwork and just showing me where to sign. No one's talking to me. It's very quiet. We're the only two there in the waiting room. And I look around and I notice something very odd. There is a box of toys there. And I couldn't help but think, why are there toys here? This is where they kill children. Do people bring their children here while they're aborting their sibling? I mean, it just baffled my mind. And I just got consumed with, there's toys here. So the lady comes, she calls my name for some reason, I'm the only one there. I get up, I follow her back, and my boyfriend stays behind. She leads me back to the back of the clinic, and I'm in this dingy colored room with a few cabinets and a chair. And I notice next to me there's a window, and there's some blinds up that were cracked open. And on the other side of that window was a bed that you would see like in a gynecologist's office with the stirrups where you put your legs up in there. And no one's talking to me. I'm still not being talked to. I'm still not being asked, so what can I help you with? Or why are you here? Or do you want to talk about anything? I mean, anything, not even hello. She kind of motions for me to sit in the chair, and by now my emotions are really high, and I'm very nervous, and I don't know what's going on. I start to sit down, and immediately when I felt that chair down below me, a waterfall of tears just come running down my face. And I stand up, and I face this nurse right in the face, and I tell her, I said, I am not here to have an abortion. This is not what I'm here to do. And I took a step to leave the clinic, and I told her, I need to get out of here. She grabbed me by both my arms. She pushed me down in the chair. She's holding me down in this chair as she reaches into her pocket. And for some reason, I just knew what was going to happen next. She pulls out a needle out of her pocket, and I just start screaming at her, saying, please, don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. And I said it over and over, and she penetrated my arm with this needle, and I was out. I was under anesthetic. After that, I vaguely remember being lifted up, and I don't remember anything else. Later on, I woke up back in my street clothes. I had never changed my clothes. I was still in my street clothes when I came there, and I was in my street clothes when I woke up. The lady started pounding me on my chest, and then she started kind of carrying me to a little small room where my boyfriend was waiting, and then he had to pretty much carry me as I staggered out to the car. They didn't even wait for me to come fully to. I spent about at least a week or more, didn't get out of bed. I was so depressed, and I didn't know what to do. During that week, I thought to myself, wow, I must be the stupidest person on earth. I just walked into an abortion clinic thinking that I had a choice. I just walked into an abortion clinic and I had no idea that I was not allowed to leave with my child. I literally thought everyone else knew this but me. And I think because for so many years I have been told over and over, you're so stupid, you're dumb, why are you doing this, or whatever, that I literally really thought that I was the only one who didn't know this. I was the only one who didn't know that choice is really a myth. That it's not really true. That once you walk into a clinic, you're giving up your rights to keep your child. And that's what I believed. And because I was so stupid, I didn't tell a soul. There is no way I could not take it anymore. Like, wow, you're so stupid, you just killed your baby. I couldn't take that. So I kept it inside and I stuffed it down. And I didn't talk about it for years. For many years. I was lucky that I didn't have any complications because of the abortion, and I had 4 children now. But I still never talked about what happened to me, and it was very difficult to start telling people about you and your life and leaving that part out of it. Finally, I decided to go to counseling, and during that time, I realized that no, I'm not stupid. You shouldn't have been forced. You should have had the right to leave. They didn't have a right to hold you down and drug you against your will and take your baby from you. I found out through the course of my healing the name of the doctor that performed the abortion on me. He is in prison right now in Arizona because during these abortions, when he would drug women, he would sexually assault them and rape them. I wasn't expecting that. You can Google him. His name is Brian Finkel. He is a very sick person. He's still alive today and has no regard or respect for women at all. He describes this, or one of the nurses actually described the stereotype, the type of girls that he liked. I pretty much fit that profile at that time, but I don't recall if anything happened to me or not. And it doesn't really matter because all I do know is that he stole my baby and he murdered my child. So that was really hard to take and handle at first. But one of the things I did through my healing process, which I'm just so thankful to God for, is where I live right now in Austin, Texas. There's an abortion clinic, but I didn't know about 5 minutes from my house, just almost down the street from me. And all of a sudden, I would have never known it was there if it wasn't for people like you standing outside. There's people outside praying, holding up signs, talking to women who are going in that clinic. And I thought, I just kept driving by there every day. And that's actually one of the things that spurred me to go in and start talking about what happened to me with my counselor. So one day I drove by there because this building reminded me a lot of the same building that my abortion happened in. It has red bricks. It has the steel door outside and the glass door outside. I wrote a note to my child and I found a little pendant that says mother on it, and I folded it up, and I walked up to that abortion clinic. I was too scared to go all the way up to the door, but there was a little tree and a patch of rocks and dirt right there by the front door, and I buried my note there. And I walked away, and outside the clinic they had their mailbox there, red brick mailbox, and lots of oak trees and bamboo. It was very shady. So I sat on the ground there, staring at the clinic, just praying to God. And I prayed to God, and I told him, I said, I am not leaving this place until this burden and this shame and this guilt and this hurt and this pain is taken off of me, because I can't take it anymore. And I sat there just crying, and I wasn't going to move until I felt better. My husband came and joined me later and sat there with me. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm sitting in the shade under all this brush, comes down just hundreds of individual beams of light shining down on me. I could see each separate little ray of sun, and I felt so much joy and comfort and peace. And I knew then that God had taken that from me, that hurt, and that he's with my child right now. So I turned to my husband. I sat there just looking at it until it went away. And I turned and looked at him and I said, okay, I'm ready to go. And we got up and started walking, and he's like, Toni, you just need to know that you have 4 children at home that just love you and adore you and want you and need you. And I'll never forget this. I stopped him and I said, no, I don't. I've got 5. I have 5 children. And that was the first time I've ever said that and acknowledged that. I have 5 children. And I just want to encourage you about the work that you're doing here with the 40 Days of Life. I know for a fact that if one of you were standing in front of the clinic that I walked in front of, that I wouldn't have gone in there. It would have saved my child and saved me from years of heartache and pain. What you're doing is worth it. Standing out in the heat, praying, talking, not judging, counseling, or just holding up signs, just being there. Because not only are you helping those who are pregnant and scared to death of what they're going to do, scared to death of the consequence that has happened because of having sex, for whatever reason they did this for. Your comfort and your love for them makes a huge difference. You are saving them from all kinds of hurts that go on in the abortion industry. It's not just forced abortion, and you know that. But forced abortion is something that isn't being talked about, which is why I go around trying to tell as many people that I can that this is a reality. It isn't just happening in China. But what you're also doing is you're standing out there in front of clinics, is helping those heal who have had an abortion, who have that shame and that guilt. Because that's what it did for me. It sparked that wound inside of me that I have been hiding for so long and trying to cover up and trying to forget. And without that, there's not a lot you can do when you're holding in so much anger and pain. It disrupts your whole life even if you don't realize it. So because of you all standing out there, going out there and praying, you're bringing healing to so many people that you don't even realize. And I'm one of them. And I just want to thank you so much for dedicating your time, bringing your families out here, and just trying to save lives and heal lives. Thank you.